would you consider the worst musician on planet Earth? Who comes to mind when you think of trash music? Is it, I don't know, Taylor Swift, Drake, maybe Morgan Wallen? Now, regardless of your personal taste or preference, there's one thing that we both need to acknowledge here. Even the musician you consider the worst, they still have some level of talent. They have a skill set, no matter how you feel about their music. Now, me, on the other hand, I am actually a terrible musician. Guys, I am absolute trash at music. Anybody else? Anyone else? Anyone can relate to this? Show of hands. Where are my musically challenged people at? I might be the most musically challenged person I know. Every form of music that I touch, it sounds bad. When I was in 3rd grade, I joined this club. It was called Drum Circle. Now, in my mind, this club was going to train me to become the next Travis Barker, and I would learn sick drum solos and absolutely send it on the drums. I must have missed the fine print or something, because it was less drumsticks and drum sets and mind-blowing drum solos, and it was more like wooden spoons hitting trash cans. I don't know, man, it was some weird back alley street percussion stuff, but even that, I couldn't get right. I could never really master the art of doing multiple things at the exact same time. I don't know, my brain just wouldn't let me figure it out. In 5th grade, we had our recorder unit. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You got this sick looking flute-like instrument in that leather carrying case. I wish I could tell you that I mastered this instrument. I mean, how could you not? This musical instrument might be the easiest thing to play. The only instrument easier than this is the air guitar. However, peak recorder Taylor was only able to play hot cross buns. Guys, that's as good as it got for me. I could never figure out how to play this instrument. Now, you think by the time I got to high school, I would have realized just how trash I was at music and given up on this quest to become a musician. But I ain't no quitter. My sophomore year, I needed a creative arts elective credit. So guess what your boy signed up for? Guitar. I thought my talents were gonna be like lightning in a bottle, and I would be an overnight success on the old strings. How hard could it be? I've played my fair share of guitar here on medium difficulty. It couldn't be that different. Pick up a few chords here and there, and before you know it, bam! I'm the next John Mayer. Well, in surprising fashion, I learned nothing from this guitar class. I failed miserably. To this day, the only thing I can play on the guitar is Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple. Here we go. Showstopper. There you go. There you go. When we look at successful musicians like Taylor Swift, Drake, and Morgan Wallen, it's easy for us to look at their ability as a musician and just attribute it to some invisible it factor. We think they've become a musician because they have this natural, magical talent they were just born with. Now, while there might be a sliver of truth to that, I think it's easy to miss the real reason they became who they are. They have tenacious discipline. Hey, here's what I mean by that. They are someone who refuses to give up and devotes an incredible amount of time to achieve a desired outcome. I didn't fail at becoming a musician because I lacked natural talent. Well, okay, actually, yeah, I do lack a lot of talent in that area. But the real reason I did not become a good musician was because I lacked tenacious discipline. I gave up way too easily, and I didn't spend nearly enough time with music to become a musician. Even though I had this desire to be good at music, it wasn't enough to push me to become a musician. There was this big gap between my desire to be a musician and actually becoming one. The only thing that would get me across this gap and allow me to become a musician was tenacious discipline and time spent playing music. I can't become something I'm not familiar with. Here's what I know about you. A lot of you came home from camp. You had this life-altering moment with Jesus. You said yes to Jesus, and you desire to go all in with him. You desire your life to look like his. And you want more than everything to be a Christ-centered difference maker. However, my fear for you is that you haven't fully processed how you're going to cross that gap between your desire to look like Jesus and becoming a Christ-centered difference maker. Your expectation might be that it's just gonna happen. Jesus osmosis, magic, because I said yes to Jesus, I'm just gonna become more like him. Or maybe you have a genuine desire to cross that gap, but no one has shown you how to do it. You don't know what your next move is or where to start. Regardless of where you're at, what happens to you when you fail to start taking steps to close that gap is you just eventually drift away. Your desire becomes a mist in the wind, and you end up missing out on Jesus and the transforming power he can have in every part of your life. I want to have a conversation today about the way we cross that gap from desiring to be like Jesus to becoming more like him. 1 Timothy 4:7-8 says this, "Train yourself to be godly, for physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things, holding promise for both the present life and the life to come." The way we turn our desire to be like Jesus into a reality is to train. And how we train is by daily spending time with Jesus. Time in our Bible, time in prayer, time listening to him, time worshiping. These are practices that allow us to know God more, and we can't be like Jesus if we aren't familiar with him. We can't become a Christ-centered difference maker without making the choice every single day to spend time with him. As we train and we close this gap, the most important ingredient is to have tenacious discipline. You need to be someone that devotes time with Jesus and refuses to give up as we pursue that time with him. Now, I want to double down on refusing to give up, because here's the reality. As we train, as we seek to spend time with God daily, we're not always going to get it right. We won't be perfect. We're going to miss a day. We're going to forget. Life's going to get crazy. Some days laziness is just going to get the best of us. And in those moments, it is vital that we understand this. Jesus is still worth chasing, and he doesn't hold a grudge towards us for missing time with him. Lamentations 3:22-23 says this, "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." When we give our life to Jesus, he isn't just pleased with us because we're perfect. No, Jesus is pleased with you because you simply made the decision to chase after him. And even during those days when we miss spending time with him, his love doesn't end for you. We don't need to live in guilt, but we simply just need to pick up where we left off and keep chasing after him. And students, here's what's at stake. I think it's really easy during this conversation to draw a conclusion that spending time with Jesus is just a me problem. We think that this daily decision only affects us. I think that's an incredibly narrow view for this conversation. When we lean into Jesus daily, spend time with him, and know him more, we understand his heart for others. We understand that Jesus, he loves people deeply. The overflow from us spending time with Jesus daily is us loving others like him. Today in groups, I want you to continue this conversation about the way we become more like Jesus by spending time with him daily. It's impossible to train properly without a plan. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. In your group, we're gonna create a plan that will set you up to spend time with Jesus daily. This plan is something that is customized just for you and allows you to practically repeat this over and over. Here's the three main components to this plan you're gonna create. Number one, a time. You will choose a time during your day that best works for you. Morning, lunch, nighttime, it doesn't matter. Choose a time that works best for you to spend time with Jesus. Here's the second part, a place. You will choose a place where you will spend time with Jesus. It could be your room, it could be in your living room, it could be somewhere in your neighborhood as you're taking a walk, it could be in the park. It doesn't matter where it is. Choose somewhere where you can eliminate distractions and focus in on Jesus. Here's the third piece, a method. You will choose your method that helps you connect with Jesus. Maybe it's reading the Gospels. Maybe it's a reading plan in the Bible app that you're gonna start with your small group. Maybe it's prayer in your room. Choose a method that will enable you to connect with Jesus. If we can put together a plan that works for us, if we can have tenacious discipline, and we spend time with Jesus daily, I believe we can close the gap and turn our desire to look like Jesus into a reality. The way to be like Jesus is to know him. Let's be students that chase after Jesus daily so that we can go ahead and change the world.